You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vold.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes! Episode 175. 175 episodes. Who would have thought? Not me. But anywho, nope. I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callan, a.k.a. Callan, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc., etc. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, birthday boy Paul Volta. Shield, what is going on there, Shield?
Well, thank you for the reminder once again that I am now 30 years old. If I wasn't getting it enough from creative consultant Mrs. Sarah Ann Twofold of me turning 30 years old, the reminder there once again. But thank you again to everybody that did send those birthday wishes as well. It was a great birthday. Cannot complain. Was able to break in the new mug here. If camera quality would catch up with it, MinneZona mug right there for you. So looking forward to another great show as always.
Yeah, speaking of which, we have that going on for us this week. Let us know if you want it. We got the pullovers, we got all the merch, the cool merch that we want to bring to you, as Voldy has showed you with our tumblers as well. So, with that being said, Voldy, we do have a winner for last week's pickup.
Yes.
That winner being of the Adrian Peterson jersey, Easy A. So claps out to Easy A on that win. He doesn't win much, but when he does, we somewhat are happy with it, give or take, however we want to put it. But no, congratulations to Easy A. The good news, Zoners, is that it's not only this isn't a last chance effort, because we're doing another giveaway this week. So, Shield, what are the Zoners who might be getting this week? What do we got?
So we are going to be giving away this guy right here, another one-of-one hat right here. That's right. Got the state of Minnesota with the MZ right there. Nice trucker-style cap there for you with the red and black pinstriping there on the hat.
Sir.
If the camera would catch up with the quality on there. Take my word for it. We've got that there for you. So be sure to get those picks in. We're giving that away this week here. Whoever does the best in picks.
You are exactly right. So make sure you get those picks in. Go from there. All that jazz. So tonight we have the Minnesota Timberwolves we'll be talking about, and we'll have live updates. The Wolves are playing right now. Second quarter, Sixers up 51-46, but hey, the Wolves were down against the Heat the other night. We'll be talking about that right away. So we'll be talking about that, and then also Minnesota Vikings will be playing for their A, playoff lives, B, the NFC North, and the whole kit and caboodle, a whiteout, if you will, this upcoming Sunday on Christmas Eve, and we'll be talking about the game that transpired this past Saturday. So a lot to talk about with Hot Take tonight. Now, after Hot Take, the North remembers Voldy. I was reminded on the social medias, which is pretty great in itself. The greatest comeback in NFL history belongs to the Minnesota Vikings. We're going to reminisce just because, you know, it's recent, and I feel like it's a good time to talk about that. You know, go back.
We need some positivity.
Yeah, get some positivity going and talk about like all the feelings that not only myself had, but you had, and Zoners and fans had that interesting day of Vikings football. So we'll be talking about that for the North Remembers. Then, of course, we got ARA Surprise, surprise, Aaron Rodgers is back in the news as well, so we'll be talking about that. Tom Brady in the news as well, so hey, we'll be talking about Voldy's guy, TFB12, so lots to talk about, and then Shield shoutouts as per usual. So just remember, Zoners, we are approaching the Zony Awards, so
Yes.
what that means is you guys have to be ready to go with
Vote.
that. The vote, guess, the whole kit and caboodle. But Voldy, I don't know if you have the hat with you. Do you want to show the hat one more time for Pick'em?
Yes.
Since we got great quality right here.
Ooh.
That's
right
what
there.
you might be winning. So
Uh-huh.
make sure you check that out. It's a snapback, so it's pretty
Mm-hmm.
custom. Get that tumbler in there. Yes, the tumblers are coming
Yeah.
out pretty slick right there. So, with
Joe
that
Clements
being,
has got one. So
Joe
Joe got one. We traded mugs. I've got one of his. So we're doing big business.
how's he feeling about those Cowboys?
He's feeling a lot of things right now. Not good things, but he's feeling
Not
a lot
good
of
things.
things.
Well, granted, we're not feeling not good things either. But with that being said, guys, we got the merch, the stocking caps for the winter to cover that head. It's gonna be cold. Boom! Look at that. I mean, who wouldn't want to wear that? That red is just beautiful.
Pops.
Beautiful.
It pops.
So
it's different.
it pops.
It's different. It stands out.
hey,
Great job. Great
we'll
job by
take it.
Ramsey Printing and Design.
yes, claps
Thank
out. All right, Voldy, I think it's time to talk some sports. Wouldn't you say? Let's get the zoners in here as well. So, it's time for some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
All right, you know what the deal is. It's Tater Tot Hot Take. The surging Timberwolves. Hey, man, they're still the best team in the league, apparently, and they're doing quite well. But they are getting praise from other NBA coaches, other NBA teams. So the first coach that actually was talking about the Wolves that was playing well, Rick Carlisle of the Indiana Pacers, former coach of the Dallas Mavericks, let's not forget. He said the Wolves are one of the best teams on the planet right now, according to him. And the way that they've played defense, it's a complete turnaround, things like that. So not only getting respect from Rick Carlisle, but Coach Eric Spoelstra of the Miami Heat. I got a lot of respect for Coach Spoelstra. He said that after the Wolves beat the Miami Heat, and we'll get to Mr. Butler in a second, but they're the number one. He said they're the number one defensive team in the league for a reason. I think they buckled down more in that second half, and referring to the game the other night. Gobert had a massive impact in the fourth quarter, as we all saw, as a deterrent on basically whatever action we were running. So Rudy Gobert is making an impact for this team, and it's not just Rudy Gobert. It's Anthony Edwards. It's Jaden McDaniels. It's Cat of all guys, and we were really down on Cat going into the season. So I asked this of the zoners, and I asked this of you, Voldy. I think they've earned the respect of the NBA in general.
Yeah.
I mean, coaches coming out and saying this about the Timberwolves just kind of shows you this is a completely different team. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it really all put things together when we were talking about how this team really didn't have a whole lot of cohesiveness is when Draymond Green choked out Rudy Gobert. That's when things really started to click a little bit more, too. So I guess in a way we have to thank Draymond, but I don't want to do it because that guy doesn't need any more ego stroking
More
than
on that later.
ever. Yeah, more on that later. But I'm talking about, too, is the fact that this team is really put together as a whole team. I know that before we had the superstars. We had individual guys on the floor playing, but they weren't really a team unit. Of course, we know that Ant's been shooting the ball all over the court everywhere as well. Gobert's starting to finally come to form as well. And we talk about with, some of the other guys stepping up as well. You got well, the only guy that I can really think of, because I don't really pay attention to basketball, is Cat. We really talked about with Cat going into this season, is he going to be the guy that is going to be like, look, this is my team. I don't care what anybody says. Is his ego getting in the way of his playing, or is he going to be like, okay, I have a team now to work with. It's not just going to be all me. If I can do what I can to accentuate their play while also still getting my numbers and also getting my buckets and getting solid, as Dennis Rodman once said, I can still be the best player on the court as well for this team. And that's really starting to come around as well. Just the overall play of this team is starting to look more like a team, as opposed to, okay, we've got 3 guys on the court that can really make an impact. Let's see if they can, maybe put the ball in the hoop for us and maybe, win a game 130 to 120 or something like that. We've seen a lot more consistent play overall. Mike Conley as well still continues to be, just a force to be reckoned with, maybe not getting the big gaudy numbers that he's used to, but he's been a distributor and really facilitating play as well. Yeah. Overall team play has been really good so far. And I think the Timberwolves are definitely caught a lot of people's attention, especially at 20-5 on the season as well. And the fact that I'm going to have to start paying more attention is really turning my world upside down.
It really is. And I like the way that, they're expressing respect, and a lot of teams, I feel like, look at the Wolves and say they're going to self-destruct. It's going to happen at some point.
Right.
Now, I don't believe that with this team, because they're playing a very good 76ers team right now. But when I'm watching these guys play, I don't see a lot of guys just kind of being lackadaisical. Maybe Zion Williamson can, figure out how to say that word. But I like the way that they're going back on defense. They're playing better defense. They're hearing it from all these coaches, and it's not just coaches now. It's guys on the floor. Tyler Hero. Mm-hmm. They're long and athletic. They force you into tough shots. That's why they got the number 1 defense in the league. So another guy that's, showing respect, giving respect to the Minnesota Timberwolves. So, but what's interesting though is that there's no specific key player, and one should say that the leader of the Miami Heat not quoted in that. No, the Wolves did a good job or anything like that. Zero from Jimmy Buckets on that. Isn't that funny, Voldy? Nothing from hilarious. Jimmy Buckets. What's interesting is that the Heat actually were leading a lot of that game the other night. And for some reason, it just seems to me that there hasn't been anything said by Jimmy Butler. It's been really quiet. Because the Wolves have beaten them twice this year. Twice. One without Jimmy, one with Jimmy. It's interesting to me. I think the Wolves are winning without Jimmy Butler after he was explaining, you can't win without me, you can't win without me. Ha! They're the best frickin' team in the league. So, You tell me that, Jimmy Butler. You tell me that. And it's a little quiet over in Miami's side of things. So it feels good. But update, the Wolves, they're about to close out the second quarter. 76ers up 64-58. The Wolves obviously still in it. Definitely can, if they make a 3 here, that'd be great. Only down by 3. Or get a 2 here and be down by 4, which Cat just did. So, hey, we'll take it. 8 seconds left. So, the Wolves are going places, hopefully.
Yes.
I mean, it's safe to say they're going to, at this point in the season, I'm just going to say it, they're going to be a playoff team. They are going to be a playoff team. Now, what seed? No idea. I think we got to let the season play out, barring any injuries or anything weird, and whatnot. So, that was one of the things that was the positive thing that we're talking about. Now, let's get to this interesting story that has popped up on the social medias. Now, Anthony Edwards, and, we love Ant. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But there were some text messages that were released from an OnlyFans model named Paige Jorday. I have no idea who that is. In the alleged text, apparently Ant said, get an abortion, just take the pills. He gave her a check. The whole deal. You guys can, look it up, read it, all that stuff. Ant issued a statement, obviously, saying that that's not my character. That's not. I have to deal with. He said that I'm going to deal with it privately and all that stuff. So I have a few thoughts on this.
Right.
Obviously, I think the best way to describe this is that what Ant said was wrong. And I think this kind of shows you have to be careful with who you're around with and whatnot. But I will say that why did this private information have to be on the social medias? Why did Paige Jorday have to put this on the social medias? That is my question. Now, I will get more into it after Voldy, you give your thoughts here, and then the zoners, please let us know too. What do you think of this whole situation, Voldy? I mean, it's just, it could be much worse with what was said and X, Y, and Z. It doesn't seem the NBA is going to step in any of this, and Ant issued a statement, so I'd assume this would start to go away a little bit. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is one that'll definitely, maybe not so much go away, but it'll be handled. It'll be handled in a way that's, obviously graceful for all sides here on this one, right. Especially given the situation with, of course, Ant and, of course, him already having a girlfriend to begin with, and now allegedly having a relationship with this OnlyFans model to the extent that she got pregnant, quite possibly, and also the transferring of money so that she could get an abortion. All this is just getting more and more crazy the further down the article I was looking at and reading up on it as well. And the photos of said model are well worth the price of the click on the article as well to begin with. So that is certainly worth noting on this one too. But yeah, this one, I feel like the league will just kind of let things be handled as it is right now. Obviously, the situation doesn't look good for Ant. I think the timing's a little bit interesting as well, especially with the Timberwolves playing so well. Yes. Ant also releases his signature shoe as well that just came out here the previous day. And I find it very interesting that it all just has come to the light here most recently with everything that's kind of looking up here as well. Maybe she's looking for something a little bit more extra beyond just the money that was sent to her for the original transgression, if you will.
So here's a couple things. One, Voldy, you make a good point, and I don't want to accuse anyone of anything at this point, but I just feel like a lot of these girlfriends or models or things like that, not only just the NBA, but this is NFL as well. They really like to throw text messages out on social media try to expose all these athletes and things like that. And basically, it seems like a little bit of too much of a coincidence that she is, in fact, a OnlyFans model. Now, you wonder if that's what's going to get them more fans and, things like that. That's the thing. But I want to shift this to Ant. And Ant has to be extremely, extremely careful what he says. And he's a superstar. He is the face of the Wolves. You have to be very careful because that can be taken away from you in an instant. This situation could be much, much worse, but Ant has to remember, hey, I got to be careful here and whatnot. So handle this matter privately. Do what you need to do, whatever. Just, why can't this be handled via phone? Like call this woman and say, hey, have the conversation. Don't do it through text message. That's my thing. But I just think it's ridiculous that you're airing this stuff out on social media and getting other people involved, and all of a sudden now the NBA is coming in and they're taking a look at this, or the Wolves are taking a look at it. Here's the thing. Handle it privately. That is my advice. Handle this privately. Don't bring all this out here, because guess what? People are going to grab that headline and they're going to milk it as much as they can. And that's the thing here. So that's my thoughts on this. It sounds to me like, and I don't want to get political here either, but I mean, just handle it privately. That's what I'm saying. That's all I have to say here. So I think this will be the end of this. So let's move on from this. And Ant, just all I got to say to you, and we love you, Ant, be careful. That's all I have to say. And I'm sure this is something that, he's learning. Just be smart. So, all right. Let's go to our Minnesota Vikings.
Yes.
Well, there's, Voldy, I almost want to preface this by saying that I don't want to say this was an abject failure loss, because
good.
It wasn't good, that's for sure. But I also look at this game and think there were many opportunities that they would have won. And you can put the whole Browning revenge game to the side, all right? Different organization,
get out of
things
here.
like that. And I think he understood that too. A lot of people were like, oh, he's getting back at the Vikings. That message was sent to Spielman and Zimmer, not O'Connell and Kwesi. So just for people that, are getting confused, because there's a lot of people on the social medias, and not the zoners, because we love the zoners, but think that, he's taking a shot at the Vikings organization. No, he wasn't. He was taking a shot at Zimmer and Spielman. So with that being said, Voldy, what are your thoughts on the Minnesota Vikings losing to the Cincinnati Bengals this past Saturday? Give us your thoughts. Zoners, go ahead, give us your thoughts on the game as well. What do you got?
It was a superhuman effort by T. Higgins with that touchdown catch that he had with seconds left in regulation. That was the ultimate difference maker on this one. You look at just how everything kind of went here for the Vikings. You look at the performance of Nick Mullins as well. 26-33, 303 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You take away those 2 interceptions, Vikings just run away with this contest as well. Ty Chandler, 130 yards rushing and a touchdown.
Yes.
Jordan Addison with also another great catch for that touchdown that almost ended up was a big difference maker early on. I mean, the Vikings were up 17-3 at one point, and you thought you were going to run away from it as well. Again, it was a superhuman effort from obviously from Cincinnati, and they get the game winner right at the end there in overtime. I was looking at this one. If you get the win, that's great. If you lose, it hurts. But I wasn't going to, dwell my whole week upon it as well. They're still kind of in the mix of it right now. But really, it's do or die coming into this week here as well against Detroit too. Because obviously, they lose, they're going to need a lot of help. And if they lose, there's no chance of them really winning the NFC North by any stretch of imagination. But I mean, it was a crazy game overall.
Yeah.
Questionable play calling in the fourth, and especially overtime too, where they had a chance to put the game away and maybe even set up for that game-winning field goal. I don't know what happened there at the end of that last series. It just did not go very well. And the fact the Vikings were outscored 24-7 in the fourth quarter and overtime, definitely have a few question marks there with that one defensively.
So, I'm glad you mentioned the whole situation on the third and fourth and inches, whatever it was. I thought initially that Nick Mullins got across the line on the 3rd and inches.
Yes.
It was a bad spot. I will say that.
Horrible spot.
It was a terrible spot because I could see Nick. He went sideways, for the people that watched the game, he went sideways. But you could see, it's like, well, the line to gain, on the TV isn't accurate. Well, that's true.
It was still moving.
It was still moving. That's exactly what I'm saying here. So they had a terrible spot, and if they have the right one, this is a first down. We're probably talking about the Vikings winning this game. Now, for them, it's the Brandon Powell thing. I understand that, and I feel like KOC kind of knows that too, doing that twice in a row. And people say, well, he should have done this. He should have done that. But let's not forget, and I'm not one to go back and say, well, this loss is on KOC, blah blah blah, X, Y, and Z, whatever. This loss is on the team. For people, and sort of off rant here, but for people that think that the Vikings should get rid of KOC after this game, you guys are absolutely brain dead or something like that, because that is absolutely ridiculous.
Stupid.
How do you think the Vikings were able to score and lead most of the game through a backup quarterback who made, and I'll talk about that in a second too, who made some pretty crappy throws in that first half, but he was also brilliant. Like, there were some throws he made that were great. There were some throws he made that showed, I miss Kirko chains. Hashtag
Oh my God!
Kirko chill.
Kirko
Hashtag no chill, all that deal. So I look at this situation and say, if you think KOC should be fired, then you don't know your football. So here's the play calling on that, not great. We get it. Flores' defense in the fourth quarter, I swear, anytime you show a graphic of the Vikings haven't allowed this many points in this many games, it's just going to go bad, Voldy.
Yep,
it's just why do you have to do that to us? And of course that happens. But one thing defensively, Caleb Evans. Granted, he had a nice interception earlier in the game. Great job by him. But you let T. Higgins get the best of you there. You mistimed the jump. You were way behind him.
Yep.
You need to get in front of that, man. You had a pick waiting right there. And I don't give a crap what you say about, Jake Brown. Oh, Browning had a great throw, anything like that. It was T. Higgins that made that play. He threw a duck, and we all know it. We all know he threw a duck, all right? Wow. But Caleb Evans needs to get up and get that ball in that instance. So there are a lot of close calls on the defense, and again, this is it's sink or swim. If you can't get to the quarterback in time, on the blitz, that's what happens. So, I don't necessarily blame Flores. I just think that our offense needed to respond too. So, you're going to have games like that. Stuffage, our main guy, Stuffage. People are smoking pot for wanting KOC fired. Idiots.
Yep.
It's that simple, guys. It really is. Voldy, let's quick talk about Nick Mullins and his performance real quick. Pleasantly surprised in some aspects, but also disappointed in others. The two interceptions he threw were obviously on him. The one where he was going to go to Jefferson, he was double covered and was just way off base. I don't even know what he was thinking there. Then the second one was brutal. Absolutely. You cannot let that happen, especially when you're going down to try to get some points before the half.
Exactly.
And that's what screwed, everything over. And pretty much, I feel like those interceptions cost us a lot of points. So, Voldy, what would you, if you were to give a grade, and I asked this of the zoners as well, what would you give a grade for Nick Mullins in his performance on Saturday? What do you got?
I'm looking at the play of him overall as well. Obviously, those interceptions was trying to force a couple of plays that didn't need to be made as well. He had options, and he went high risk on both those, unfortunately. But overall, he kept them in the game. for getting the overtime series that, obviously trying to run, 3 plays within the span of a 2.5 yards. That's not on him. That's poor decision-making on the part of the Vikings and the play calling there on that one. So for me, given the fact that he went into it, first full week of prep for him, even though he did get a little bit of time as well the previous week as well to get in there and, get his licks too. I'm going to give Nick Mullins, I'm going to say a B minus.
Okay.
It's like a soft B minus, hard C plus, I would say, but I'm going to go B minus for him.
Well, I'm going to go C plus. And the reason why I go C plus because the interceptions, I'm sorry, those were just so horrendous. And I kept telling myself, we would be up, and I don't care what anybody says. I don't give a crap of the Kirk haters or anything like that. The Vikings would have easily won that game with Kirk Cousins. They would have won. They could have, maybe not a blowout, but Kirk Cousins under center, they win that game. Just saying. And that's not, I don't want to knock Nick Mullins, for that, but I give him the C plus because let's not forget, if it wasn't for that offsides that Hendrickson had or something, he threw a bad pick six on this screen. So thankfully got called back. That would have been game right there for the Vikings. So, that's why I'm giving him the C plus. I want to see him, do what for a lot of the game. What he did was he made some nice passes. So he's got to do that again. I mean, I feel like this is the perfect segue. Stuffage says B minus from me on Mullins, and that's good. I think we're in the same range as well. So perfect segue. Let's go to the Lions here, okay? And we'll do this quick since we got to get to our the North remembers for the Colts and Vikings from last year, the greatest comeback in NFL history. So, going in this game against the Lions, Voldy, this is do or die, like we have in the graphic here. The Lions coming off a big one against the Denver Broncos. Everyone kind of thought, well, the Broncos were kind of surging, but the Lions went in and kicked their butts. So, what do the Vikings got to do to stop this Lions team? They got the offense. Their defense played better last week. What do we need for a Viking win, Voldy?
Overall, I got to say that I think, and I've been saying the last few weeks as well, defense has got to play the game of their lives on Saturday.
Yeah.
You got to be able to match up against these receivers and obviously shut down the run as well for them. Got to get Jared Goff uncomfortable. We need to see the Jared Goff of, the end of his tenure in Los Angeles, and got to see him just giving up the ball left and right, making bad decisions as well. You got to be able to force him out of the pocket and into trouble as well. I feel like that is going to be a big factor for this contest, especially with the defense. This one could certainly get very interesting early on. If the offense can do the same that it did last week, distribute the ball, give TJ Hawkinson the ball that he needs to obviously stretch the field as well. JJ is going to be well taken care of defensively as well, but he'll still be able to get some catches here and there. Run game's got to play well. I got to see Ty Chandler get 100 yards again here in this contest too. Yeah. And the running game's just got to be able to set the tone as well. I mean, this team's got to play the most absolutely perfect game. No turnovers, got to not turn over the ball at all in order to win this one.
So, literally, that's kind of what I'm saying, too. And Ty Chandler. Use him. He's that good. I mean, the way that he was getting in those cuts, you could just see his vision is spot on. Way better, and, sorry, Alexander Madison, but his vision's way better with him back there. So keep using him. JJ Hawk, like you were saying. Addison, great game this past week. We need it again. We need him to keep his hot streak going. But I also agree, Hawk. Let's get Hawk rolling as well. So we shall see what happens on Sunday. If the Vikings lose, then the Lions win the North. But our predictions are still live, Voldy, even without Kirko. So, hey, there's still So you're saying there's a chance. But,
Yep.
yeah, the Vikings need to win if they want to make the playoffs and even, NFC North. So,
Can we
that's for a
walk
different
back as
conversation.
well?
Yes.
Mikey Ryan's top 3 NFL defense for the Vikings, because as of late, things have been looking pretty better as of late. So I'm not saying that his is completely absurd. His was just a bit of a late bloomer as well for the defense here. So not completely absurd for Mikey Ryan this season.
Exactly. And the thing is we did say conference NFC championship game, but
We did say that, yeah.
But Kirk got hurt, so that's a good excuse. That's a good excuse for us.
Null and void. Null and void.
Exactly. So, but
That
that
doesn't matter.
Yep. We'll
All
move
predictions
on
out the
from
window.
that. But what was great about Kirko was last year. The NFL, the greatest comeback in NFL history. We all know.
Yep.
Let's all reminisce on a little now a little over a year ago. It was a game that the Vikings, if they won the North, right? And well, the Vikings didn't expect to be down 30-0 in the first half. So it's been a long time, Voldy, since we done the North Remembers. So let's do it. It's time for the North Remembers.
These are the moments enshrined in Minnesota sports history. The North remembers.
The North remembers. Before we get into that, Nick Dahlhoff. Nick, did you get your MinneZona hat? By the way, we still have our MinneZona hats. You know the deal, the camo. You got the American flag hat, which Nick did buy. So just asking if he got that. Shout out to Popcorn Bucket List, him and Ryne. Movie's coming out this week. I believe Aquaman 2. So they'll have a new episode coming your way. So shout out to those guys. And let us know if you got your hat, Nick. So the North remembers. Let's get to your comment. Geez, I should probably read that. At this point, I don't care if the Lions win the North. We aren't going to do anything special in the playoffs anyway. I was going to say that. So I'm glad you brought that up, Nick.
But at least we made the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yeah. Why
Hold
not?
it over the rest of the division's head for the following season.
Why not?
It's like, you guys didn't do anything. At least we made the playoffs.
Ooh. And maybe even win the NFC North.
Exactly. Thank you.
I just want the wild card so that the Packers don't get it. Right. And the Packers really screwed the pooch against the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So
yes, sir.
You take what you can get. All right, North remembers. I know it's a little recent. Is this too soon? No, it's not. I don't think it's too soon.
No,
I think it's good to do something that's a little recent, right? So Voldy, like I said before, the Vikings, they win this game, they win the NFC North, and people call them the Vikings frauds, all that, blah blah blah. Well, that almost came into fruition that day against the Indianapolis Colts, who were 4-9. You have an old, aging Mattryan at quarterback. But a lot of this, I feel, was self-inflicted with our Minnesota Vikings, unfortunately. Kirko had a couple picks, but those 2 picks weren't necessarily on Kirk because Jalen Reagor didn't know how to run a route. Sorry, cheap shot, but it was necessary. So you have that going on. The Vikings are literally getting destroyed, 30-0, end of the first half. And they had a blocked punt for a touchdown, the Colts did. Jonathan Taylor, he was in the game for maybe about 2 seconds and then got hurt and then was out. So you have Zach Moss back there. You have Deion Jackson back there. So a lot not going the Minnesota Vikings way. Dalvin Cook fumbles a ball as well. So, I mean, that first half was probably the worst first half I've ever seen the Vikings play. I'm not going to lie. I saw the Josh Freeman game. Yeah. I've seen all that, but that first half was absolutely awful. And people were saying, I keep saying they're frauds, they're frauds. People say they're frauds in that instance. But man, was it sweet in that second half. It was absolutely awesome the way that they played, too. So, Voldy, what are your thoughts on the first half? I mean, I know we talked about it, when we had our next show and everything like that. But, I was ready to say, okay, maybe I didn't see the light, but we maybe are frauds. What do you think?
Right. I mean, that first half was everything that could have gone wrong. It certainly did. Offense really couldn't get things going, and if they did, they'd end up turning over the ball and shooting themselves in the foot. Special teams wasn't good. There was just nothing going right the Vikings way. I mean, this was also game 2 that Jeff Saturday was coaching in his second contest of his coaching career at that point at the NFL level, coming off of, basically off the street, out of the ESPN studio and into an NFL, locker room as well, at least at a head coaching capacity too. So things were looking good for Indianapolis at that point, being up by that score, early on 33-0 at halftime. And you were just looking at it like, okay, Vikings aren't going to clinch this week. What are we looking at here next week? What we got to get ready for that. But I mean, overall, the fact that the Colts were doing this damage early on with next to nothing skill-wise or even, player-wise as well was a real head scratcher in that first half.
Yeah, it's interesting to me how that first half was just showing why, people were calling them frauds and things like that. But
right.
when you get when you have Patrick Peterson, who again was a leader, in that locker room at the time, all you need is 5 touchdowns and like the simple things like that. Because I thought,
easy.
I mean, for myself, I thought we're not winning this game. We're not winning the North. This sucks. Absolutely sucks.
Yep.
But I believe it was recently. Jeff Saturday was on record about that game, and he said that they were in trouble, when they got to halftime because they didn't have a lot of offensive yards and things like that. Mm-hmm. But I think he's full of crap on that, to be honest with you.
A little bit.
But I honestly thought that the Vikings they might score a touchdown here. So, I'll kind of quick recap what happened in that second half. So, the Colts end up getting a field goal. So they're up, 30. They're up 33-0.
Yep.
So then the Vikings get the ball. KJ Osborne, touchdown. So okay, all right, we got some we got something here. Okay, that's great. And then after that, CJ Ham. Okay, punch that in. Great. 36-14.
Feel good about something. Yep.
We're not dead, but we're getting close. Then after that, Justin Jefferson absolutely puts Stephon Gilmore on skates. And 36-21. And so I'm thinking, okay, I mean, I don't want to put it out of the realm of possibility, but things are kind of looking pretty.
Cover the spread. Cover the spread.
Cover the spread, exactly.
We're covering the spread here. We're making the bettors happy.
Right. So now we're all thinking, okay, well, maybe, just maybe we can get this done. And boy, did they ever get it done. Now let's bring something up before we move on to the next one here, because Stephon Gilmore was trying to literally destroy Justin Jefferson. Late hit after one of the plays, and not just that one, but he was JJ was interfered with. I mean, this was just a mugging of Justin Jefferson. He had to exit the game twice now. So Stephon Gilmore trying to take the head off Justin Jefferson, and if you listen to Paul Allen's call,
that was one thing I was going to bring up.
Yeah.
When you had mentioned we should talk about this, I went back and listened to it. PA is just gold at that contest and just ripping into the Colts. He should
be kicked out of the game,
time.
Right? Yeah, he said that's what he said or something like that. which was hilarious, just to say the least on that. But
Tackle made by Gilmore, jerk.
Yeah, tackle made by Gilmore. You should be thrown out of the game or whatever. And that's what Jefferson does. He beats you. Or
Colts
something.
first down, bunch of jerks.
Yeah. That's so good.
God, PA is great.
Yeah, I mean that game. I mean, I just think it's just frustration. Everyone. I mean, PA's frustration, my frustration, your frustration. I mean, it just came into fruition there. So, CJ Ham has that touchdown. Obviously, with the whole Jefferson thing and whatnot. Adam Thielen. We're in striking distance now. We're down 36-28. And I'm thinking, and I'm looking at Pop Callahan, and I'm like,
they're going to do something stupid right now.
Are they going to literally come back and beat this team? Like, this is insane. Mm-hmm. So Thielen scores that touchdown. And then I think a little time passes or whatnot. And then Dalvin Cook. Just some screen pass or something like that.
Yep.
And he just beats everybody, every Colt, and goes down and scores. And then we need the 2-point. Oh, that's okay. We got TJ Hawkinson, baby, to tie it.
Yep.
So,
wasn't this the game as well that Chandon Sullivan got screwed out of a scoop and score touchdown?
I'm glad you brought that up because that was my next thing.
Yeah.
The Vikings were on defense and had two, not one, but
two
fumble recoveries taken away from Chandon Sullivan. And both were fumbles. Absolutely 100% fumbles. And he got robbed. Absolutely robbed. And we would have had the comeback even sooner than what it was. So that's what happened there. The Vikings then end up going into OT against these guys. And, I think they had the ball first. They didn't get it. Then we had the ball. And I think we went down and got into field goal range or something like that. So but not only that, but this, like, if they missed it, they were going to tie, right? Mm-hmm. So we that would suck because it's like, well, we want to complete the greatest NFL comeback in history, and Justin Jefferson, I think, gets down to kind of in striking range for Greg Joseph.
Yeah, but
one player, a former Viking, P.O.D. Odenigbo, just holds on to Jefferson as he's trying to get up, and I am screaming at the TV and
delay game.
Saying, that's delay of game. That's delay of game. That's JJ can barely get up, and he's just laying on top of him. It's like he's cheating, and I'm cussing to high heaven about that. And finally, they threw the flag, and I was like, oh, God, we're going to win this game. We're going to win this game. And then Greg Joseph, greatest comeback in NFL history. Vikings win the NFC North. If the Vikings don't do it in dramatic fashion, what was it all worth it in the first place? So,
yep, exactly.
What a game, man. What a game. So, with that being said, having the greatest comeback in NFL history is great to have. Obviously, it was a season last year where everything went right for the Vikings, and obviously this specifically. But let's shout out our guy, Kirk Cousins. 34 of 54, 460 yards, 4 touchdowns, the 2 interceptions, but we're going to blame Jalen Reagor on both of those. So
yep,
we'll go with that. That was one of the best games. And Zoners, let us know what your thoughts were from last year and how that went for you against a 4-9-1 Colts team. And for the Vikings to pull off what they did, says
and
a lot.
Won the division too, so that usually helps.
That usually helps, and something I'll never forget. That's for sure.
Definitely not. No.
And it was one heck of a time. I wish I was there at that game. Even though I wish I wasn't there if I was in the first half.
There for the second half.
There for the second half. Exactly.
Yep.
So, all right. That will do it for the North Remembers this time. And Zoners, let us know what you guys think too. So a lot to be said in that game. And obviously, who knows? We might talk more about it at another point in time. So, all right. Voldy, ARA, we got a lot of good ARAs this week. A lot involving. We got to talk about the Draymond Green thing. We had the breaking news last week about Draymond Green, so we'll be talking about that a little this week. The little Tom Brady, and of course that social media guy, whatever his name, Rich Paul, Greg Paul, Jake Paul, whatever Paul that's around here. There's only one Paul I know, and that's Paul the Shield Vold. So that's the only person we care about on this program. And so, that being said, it is time for some absurd or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for absurd or approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, former NFL quarterback and potential future Hall of Famer Tom Brady did put his voice to action as well in a hit that did take place this past Saturday with the defensive player for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Damontae Kazee, hitting a helmet-to-helmet hit against Indianapolis Colts receiver Michael Pittman Jr., which did lead, unfortunately, to a suspension for the rest of the season for Kazee, and also disgruntled Tom Brady as well, and talking about and even calling out NFL quarterbacks for potential harm to their receivers and not being able to put them in the right spots. Quoted as saying in an Instagram post, Tom Brady said, "Nobody likes seeing players get hurt, but hard hits happen. QBs should not be throwing the ball in areas where they are exposing their own teammates to these type of hits. Coaches need to coach better. QBs need to read coverages and throw the ball to the right places, and defenders should aim for the right hitting areas. To put the blame on the defensive player all the time is just flat out wrong. Need better QB play. It's not okay, QBs, to get your wide receivers hit because of your bad decisions." Now, this coming off the tales from earlier this season, Tom Brady talking about mediocre play, not only from the quarterbacks, but also from the NFL as well. Guys out there that aren't the, sickly driven, motivated guys that were of the past generation of quarterbacks and players to go out there and literally give it their all day in, day out, season after season. Right. But looking at the hit that did take place, and then the comments by Tom Brady, is it absurd or approved for Tom Brady to be calling out QBs needing to do better for their wide receivers?
Well, you wonder if that was a direct shot to Josh Dobbs. I doubt it, but I mean, he's right. I agree with Tom Brady in this sense, because I feel like, big hits happen, a lot, and this is completely different. I mean, if that hit happened in, let's just say 2008, 2009 ish or something, then that would be on the segment called Jacked Up, which, again, is a old segment that is not used anymore because obviously the concussions. So, I agree. And again, there's been a lot of QB injuries too. Gardner Minshew, bona fide backup. No, and it's no shade towards him at all. I'm just saying that he's got to be careful, throwing those footballs, especially with Josh Dobbs, throwing that ball to Jefferson and then Jefferson just getting rocked. I mean, you have to put the ball in the better place. Coaches need to coach better a little bit. I agree with Tom. It's got my stamp of approval. It's tough, though, because sometimes, like, if a quarterback gets hit or something like that, I mean, there's not a lot he can do. But in instances where you don't have any pressure coming towards you and things like that, you have to be careful. So it's got my stamp of approval with Tom Brady. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, his comments are certainly warranted, at least in the part of knowing that obviously guys are going to get hurt if you continue to put their receivers in those situations. But look at what's happened recently. A lot of these starting quarterbacks have gone down due to injuries. So we're dealing with a lot of second and even third string quarterbacks now getting the starting roles as well. Are there going to be the same competitive level and preparation and getting their guys in the right spots as compared to Brady, Roethlisberger, Breeze? No. I'm just going to come out and flat out say it. No. Not going to be to that same level. You would certainly hope that there would be that same level of wanting to be the best that they can, not only for themselves, but obviously for their teammates so that they can continue to succeed by keeping them safe out on the field. But yes, hard hits do happen. That one was just poorly timed, I think, for Gardner Minshew as well. And all these other guys that continue to, get a lot of the spotlight as of late as these backup quarterbacks are seeing more action here this season. It's unfortunate for them, and especially for a guy that's been battling his whole career with Gardner Minshew too, from team to team. It has seemed to have made an impact one way or another, whichever team he's been on. It's unfortunate, but I definitely give my stamp of approval for Tom Brady in those for those comments as well. Now that he's off, not playing anymore, he can certainly say whatever he wants. And a lot of what he says does have merit to the fact that, you can see, obviously, once you get past, you get past the Jalen Hurts and the Patrick Mahomes, there's a little bit of a drop off there. Of course, you throw Aaron Rodgers at that top tier too. There is a steady drop off of quarterback talent once you get past that second, even third rung of tiered quarterbacks there still in the NFL.
So, TFE is speaking truth here. So, All right. Stuffage says approved as well. So,
bingo.
Let's get to the one that we need to talk about. Next one, Voldy.
So last week we broke the news that Draymond Green has been suspended indefinitely after another altercation that took place on the court, coming off the heels of obviously the situation that took place earlier this season with him choking out Rudy Gobert on the court against the Timberwolves. Well, another on the court incident with him smacking the hell out of somebody has now dropped the hammer from the NBA, saying that he has been suspended indefinitely. Early indications are saying that's at least a 3-week suspension for Draymond Green, with a number of actions to be taking place, with it taking place of some sort of counseling, rehabilitation as well, for him to resolve some of the actions that he's taken place on the court. But no real definitive numbers that have taken place here, with, of course, the head of basketball operations for the NBA and a former ramble rouser himself, that being Joe Dumars of the, bad boy era Detroit Pistons back in the day as well. But, of course, with his repeated history of unsportsmanlike acts as well, this suspension that remains indefinite, but looking at least a minimum of 3 weeks for Draymond Green, is it absurd or approved? Should Draymond Green's suspension be even longer?
I'll quick say yes, but there's one interesting thing, and I was listening to the radio. I was listening to the Power Trip, usually on my way to work, and Marnie Gellner was saying, or was reading up on something. Ramona Shelburne, who's a respected NBA writer and analyst and everything like that. She's a big insider, I should say, for lack of a better word. Apparently, she did talk with Draymond after, after he got the suspension and things like that. She brought up some things like, for instance, the Rudy Gobert thing. Is that when things started to go downhill for him? And I think Draymond said, and this is just a quote, so I mean, I'd say probably official, just because, Ramona Shelburne's very respected. He said that he just remembers seeing Klay Thompson being grabbed by somebody, and that was Rudy Gobert. And he doesn't remember anything after that moment. So that's when I kind of thought, okay, he needs some help. And that is something that is needed. For what he did is absolutely, absurd, in the fact of trying to hurt somebody, trying to choke somebody out, trying to, smack. I mean, he roundhouse hit Nurkic or whoever it was that he smacked. He smacked him bad. And, he's been known to do this, technical fouls and things like that. He should have gotten help earlier. And when coaches and former teammates, Kevin Durant being one of those guys, saying, I hope Draymond gets the help he needs and everything like that. So for the NBA saying that he'll be suspended indefinitely, I think I read something that it was like they're thinking 3 weeks. I almost think he needs to be. I think the league has to be a little bit more aggressive. So I think it's got my stamp of approval that it should be longer. I think it's absurd that, indefinitely, I feel like is the right thing to do. But I feel like a month or 2 or whatever I think would suffice, because I think he needs a little bit more time to understand and be held accountable for these actions. So, you can't be doing that stuff. This isn't the 90s. This isn't. He's literally out there trying to hurt somebody and put them in the hospital. Right. So, it's the NBA. I think it should be longer. I honestly think it should be. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Well, I just look at the track record that belongs with the NBA as well as Draymond Green as well. You look at how the NBA has gone about when it comes to suspensions of players. The fact that John Morant waving and pointing a gun on social media, and he only gets, 20-ish games or something like that, 20, 25 games. He comes back and he hits a game winner in his first game back. That's certainly not a good way as well, especially with the way that the NBA wants to portray these guys as kind of role models in their community. Yeah. And yet you got some idiot kid who's, thrown himself left and right down the court and trying to take a body with him. And then ultimately off the court, he thinks of himself as a thug or a guy that can go around waving around a weapon as well, whether it be licensed or not, as a role model. That's not exactly somebody you want to hitch your wagon to. And then you've got a guy. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here. If Draymond Green didn't have any championships with Golden State, this guy would have been thrown out of the league about 4 or 5 years ago, at least.
True.
At least with him. It's the fact that he has the championships along with Clay, along with Steph, and you have Steve Kerr as your head coach too. That's the only thing really keeping him in the league to begin with. Obviously, he's still a great defensive player. He can do it. But the fact that he's going out there and literally trying to cut people down and end their careers as well, I don't see how this can be good for basketball. I'm not a basketball guy. I'll be the first one to mention that. I don't know anything good, bad, left, right, up, down, turn around, make them want to shout here on a thing about basketball. But I know if there's a guy in a professional league that has a repeated history of his unsportsmanlike behavior, I feel like the league's going to step in and be like, you know what, you're not going to see the rest of the season, or you're going to be sitting out half of a season, 25 games into it. We'll see you come around the playoffs if you've been a good boy or not. And I know a lot of guys are coming to his defense as well, saying that he needs the help. Look, if the guy's crazy, put him in a psych hold, put him in a straitjacket, medicate him, whatever you need to do. Have him talk to somebody. But I feel like this is a ploy from him in many ways to normalize his actions. And it's ridiculous. If there's a guy out there that wants to do more harm than good in the game of basketball by choking guys out, roundhousing them, hitting them where the sun don't shine, and you've got multiple occurrences of it, there's no good that can come from this if you keep giving him chance after chance after chance. Look, I think the best for him, sit out the rest of the season. That's the only way he's probably going to learn. He's going to lose game checks. He may lose some endorsements. He may lose some favor with guys around the league. If guys even around the league like him, besides the guys on his own team and the past few teammates that have played with him, I think the NBA needs to make a stance, and especially with Adam Silver, that continues to kind of toe the line in ridiculousness for the league. I think it comes down to a point we have to set a precedent. We have to, the buck stops here. I think Draymond Green needs to be suspended for the rest of the season. That's just my opinion right there. At least half of the games of the regular season from this point. So it's going to be like what? Regular season's what? 82 games. So he needs to be suspended 41 games, which would leave probably 15-ish games left in the regular season before the playoffs. He needs to be suspended for half of the season at this point. That's my personal opinion on that. Take it or leave it. Suspension needs to be longer.
One thing I kind of want to add to this too is when he the final straw when he roundhouse Nurkic or whoever it was, his own teammates were like, "What the f are you doing?" You know, on the bench, were saying like, "What is he doing? What are you?" You know, and it just shows how bad it is. But I don't.
There's better ways of going about to ask for help.
Yes, and
it's ridiculous.
The one thing I will add to this, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I believe that he should be suspended for the year to send that message. But
absolutely,
being realistic, I think a month or even 2 would be suffice, and I'd be fine with it. But again, the NBA wants their bad boy back, so we'll see how it
NBA
goes.
is a joke.
So yeah. All right, let's move on to the Mr. Rodgers, Volde.
As it was reported that Aaron Rodgers, who's been physically able to return to the game of football 3 months after blowing out his Achilles just 35 seconds into his debut with the New York Jets, was reported, of course, with the New York Jets being eliminated from playoff contention this season, that he will not be playing the rest of the 2023 season, but looks forward to playing in 2024 and beyond in Gang Green in New York as well. Certainly something to keep an eye on as well, but with the indications, of course, with the surgery that did take place on September 13th, and now to this point, with it being Christmas Eve coming up, the next games that would take place for the New York Jets, does not bring any merit for Aaron Rodgers to suit up for the Jets, knowing that they are out of playoff contention and looking at what they have incoming in the future as well. Do you think it is absurd or approved for the Jets and Aaron Rodgers to not play for the rest of this season?
Well, it's not worth it. They're eliminated from the playoffs. He doesn't. I mean, there's the whole notion that I'm going to show everyone I can come back from this, and I'm physically able to play, and X, Y, and Z. But again, he used some. It was a different procedure than what it usually is, and the recovery time and X, Y, and Z. Like, there's no guarantees he would be. He would be just like he was before the injury and everything like that. So. I think this whole thing was a ploy to get people talking about him. And again, I think he enjoys kind of poking people, saying I'm still here, I'm still getting the spotlight. And let's not forget he's always on McAfee. So there's always a storyline with one Aaron Rodgers. Now, I believe at this point, and again, I know some Vikings fans and everything like that. Oh, it's going to happen. Things didn't go well with the Jets. He barely even plays with them, and something happens and whatnot. But I doubt that's going to happen in this instance, that, he's going to turn over and get back at the Packers or whatever. That ain't going to happen. He's going to be a Jet next year. They're going to be hopefully a lot better, because if Rodgers went out and tried to play, that offensive line is absolutely awful. They are terrible. Yeah. You want him to go out there and get knocked around like that? Nah, I don't think so. So they've got some problems here, and they got to try and fix it, because they might be in some deep doo-doo if they don't. Coming up this upcoming year. So if you're the Jets right now, just ride out with who you got, and go from there. Just hope that he's healthy. So all the talk that, he might come back, he might say, we might still be in the playoffs. There is no rhyme or reason why you should be going and playing at this point. What if you get hurt again? Then all of a sudden, you're forced to retire or something like that. So wait till next season. That is the best decision for not only the Jets, but one Aaron Rodgers, a.k.a. Aaron Rodgers. So, Voldy, what do you got?
Well, you just feel unfortunate with the amount of investment the NFL put into the season too. Hard knocks with
True.
the New York Jets, and then you throw in obviously all the excitement that was around the Jets, and it went sadly to the wayside of this year. Everything that's gone on in that quarterback room with Zach Wilson, and then throw in Tim Boyle. Then you have now also Trevor Siemian in the mix too. And Zach Wilson doesn't want to play. He doesn't want to start. He wants to go, and everything else in the mix. It's hard to believe at one point the New York Jets were 4-3 on the season with a winning record. Then they lose 5 in a row. They somehow beat the Texans 2 weeks ago, and they're sitting at 5-9 with 3 games left on the season. Obviously, they're not going to finish above 500, but they don't even have the reluctance of playing spoiler the rest of the season. They've got the Commanders, they've got the Browns, and they finish off the season against the Patriots as well. So it's just not looking like it's going to be worth it as well. I think if anything, it'll give the Jets a chance to look at what assets they have, who do they have, what can they cut, who they can move around, and start looking at the draft as well, obviously, to build around Aaron Rodgers and hopefully find the right pieces for them to make that next step forward too, at least building more consistency with them coming up into the near future for next season. Now, I think it's a smart move for them, obviously, because they want to be able to have Rodgers around for a couple more seasons, so maybe he can finally finish off his career. God help us if he does finish off his career in New York and just be done with it, and not be able to face the Vikings ever again. But I just hope that this can stop being a consistent issue and we can start looking at what it's going to be like in the near future with Rodgers into next season too, and how that's all going to play in that very crowded AFC East.
That's for sure. So it's, I just think the whole notion of I might come back, I might not, like, don't. Just for everyone's sake, just don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen. So, all right, last one, Voldy.
Well, we know that the world of Jake Paul and professional boxing has been something to keep an eye on the last few years as well. He's kind of revitalized, or at least injected new life into an old sport that's not really been very overall popular in the last 10, 15-ish years. Now Jake Paul is throwing his hat in the ring, literally, for Olympic boxing as well. As Jake Paul did announce that he will be partnering with Team USA Boxing to work with the Olympic Training Center in Colorado ahead of the 2024 Paris Olympics to essentially cover what they do on his social media channels with the hope of building awareness and growing popularity for the team, and specifically in amateur boxing as well. Now, of course, boxing been one of the all-time great sports, not only for the Olympics, but obviously in prize fighting as well. But in the turn of the century as well, a lot of eyes have been focused more on the mixed martial arts side of everything as well too. But now looking at how it is all turned around here with it now being boxing as well, do you think it's absurd or approved with Jake Paul teaming with Team USA and partnering together? Do you think it could help Team USA bring home gold in the 2024 Paris Olympics?
Oh, this day and age, I tell you. So here's what I'm gonna say. And I have not watched one lick of him boxing. I've never seen an actual YouTube video of how he became a star or anything like that. I just think the dude is annoying as hell. Not only him, but his brother too. I am just so sick and tired of hearing about these guys, and it's like, oh, they classify themselves as villains, and everybody hates them because they're famous. It's like, well, I got all this money, I got all this fame, I got it from social. Look, I'm sure he's doing great boxing, but I believe, from what I understand, that he hasn't fought anybody that has been like a real true boxer, right? He hasn't fought like Floyd. He hasn't fought guys like Pacquiao or guys like Canelo or any of those guys. I mean, the popularity, I'm sure it's some and everything like that. but I don't give a damn about any of the Pauls or anything what they do. I don't care. So let's get back to the question of, could this help bring USA the gold? I mean, I'm fine with them bringing gold back. Don't get me wrong. Now, is Paul going to help them? Does he take it seriously? I'm sure he does take it seriously with boxing. Don't get me wrong. But I also know, too, that, I mean, this guy's just a troll, and so is his brother. They're just trolling people. And it's like, one negative thing you say about them, they'll make like a stupid diss video. They'll come back, retort back on Twitter, things like that. The more attention you give these guys, the more they're going to feed off it. So that's kind of how, in my mind, that's how it goes. Will it help them? Probably. For this generation of people that are on TikTok and, make a living off it and everything like that, I'm sure it will. But I doubt it's going to bring a gold. I can tell you that much. I doubt it will bring gold to the USA with this whole Jake Paul thing. So, yeah, I think it's absurd. Voldy, what do you got?
I mean, I look at this more of a way to bring more attention to boxing, and that's kind of the main thing that Jake Paul has done in the last few years. I mean, I did watch the Netflix thing on Jake Paul when it came out sometime over the summer or whenever it was, and I found it very interesting. Dude's a weird dude, and, obviously wants as much attention as he can as possible, but I look at it as a standpoint. I mean, whatever he's done, it certainly hasn't been half-assed, I'll say that. He's been invested, and with something like this too, I think it'll certainly be very interesting to see how this comes out for boxing as well. I mean, certainly, I've certainly paid more attention to boxing in the last 3-4 years with Jake Paul doing all these weird celebrity boxing matches or fighting MMA guys in the boxing ring, or all these other dudes he tends to pick bones with as well. And it certainly has caught my interest a little bit. Is it going to help bring Team USA gold? I guess we'll have to see. It's on the boxers for them to compete as well, and how that's going to be. Again, if anything, it's going to help them bring awareness and certainly draw my attention towards it as well, and help grow their brands a little bit more. So is it going to help them bring gold? I don't see if it will, but if it does, hey, that's an even bigger bonus. That'll draw even more attention and more excitement towards amateur boxing as well.
Well, it's no doubt that'll bring it that way, but I mean, for the guys that are on the team or whatever, or however that works out, are they gonna want to, are they gonna get along with the guy? Is what I'm saying too. So, I mean, it'll bring attention, but you will not see me watching a Jake Paul fight ever. Right. I don't think so. That's just, I don't know. I'm sick and tired of seeing those guys. I think Logan Paul's in WWE. And he'll play off as a heel, and I think he's a champion right now, isn't he, or something like that?
U.S. champion, yep.
Jeez. So,
crazy.
Anyway, I mean, hey, if it makes you money, so. All right. Exactly. Great job with ARA this week.
Thanks, sir.
As always. We got some Shield shout-outs coming your way, because there's some interesting ones this week, that's for sure. So let's just go ahead and get it going with some Shield shout-outs.
Shield shout-outs.
All right, Shield, who you shouting out tonight?
Well, I do want to say a big thank you and a big Shield shout out to everybody that wished me a happy birthday as of yesterday, turning 30 years old. Sometimes it feels like I turned 60 yesterday. Some days it feels like it could be even worse as well. But a big thank you to everybody that did say happy birthday to me and even continued into the day as well. Those little reach outs and comments as well certainly do not go unnoticed and unappreciated as well. Yeah. And of course, with a recent tradition that we've had on my birthday over years past as well, Mrs. The creative consultant for MinneZona Sports Live, Mrs. Sarah Ann Toosvold, has always done one of two things. One is made a heaping pile of chili for my birthday, which she did yesterday as well. Delicious as always. And also in recent years, like the jersey that I'm wearing here, a Case Keenum Vikings jersey, has made sure that I stay up to date on the latest trends when it comes to Case Keenum and his journey throughout the NFL. Of course, I do have the Case Keenum Buffalo Bills jersey. I got the Case Keenum Cleveland Browns jersey. I got the Case Keenum Washington former football team, their former mascots jersey as well. I don't have a Broncos jersey. I will never own a Broncos jersey as long as I live as well. Don't like the Broncos for that reason. I don't have the Rams jersey. I don't have his college jersey.
That's right, Rams,
but
yeah.
Coming very, very soon, hopefully this week before Christmas, as with my Buffalo Bills jersey last year that came on Christmas Eve, a Case Keenum Houston Texans jersey will be coming within my possession, and I can't be more than excited about that. And a big thank you again to creative consultant Mrs. Sarah Antus for that as well. Sarah Antus-Vold, I should say, for that consideration. And finally, with Shield Shoutouts, we did learn, obviously, this past week that Teddy Bridgewater did announce that he will be retiring after this coming NFL season. Him as a member currently with the Detroit Lions. Of course, he did announce that he will be retiring, going to be looking at going into coaching and also raising his kids as well at the same time. But I do make this plea to the Minnesota Vikings, ownership, front office, coaching staff as well. Bring Teddy home. Bring Teddy home. Sign a one-day contract. Put him in that purple number 5 one more time. Give this man his flowers after the franchise turned their back on Teddy Bridgewater after the injury. He was never the same player after that. He did have some bright moments down in he did have them with New Orleans. Had his moment in Carolina. He had Denver, and he bounced around the last few years. But you never forget where you came from. Teddy Bridgewater, Minnesota Viking. If he didn't get hurt, I feel like the team would be in a different spot that they would be than they currently are with their quarterback situation. And I feel it's only the right way to send off Teddy Bridgewater in his NFL career. Bring Teddy home. And I'm saying that, and I am pleading to all Minnesota Vikings fans, ownership, fans, coaching staff, front office, bring Teddy home once the season's over, sign that one-day contract so that way he can retire proudly a member of the Minnesota Vikings. And that's going to do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
Well said. And there has been, I've loved Teddy ever since he came in to
Absolutely.
the Minnesota Vikings. He led the Vikings to a playoff appearance. Granted, if it wasn't for Blair Walsh, he would have had a playoff win under his belt.
Exactly.
But there's one saying, and this goes all the way back to the Sports Zone, that I would always say, and I think it's quite appropriate for one Teddy Bridgewater.
Teddy B, dip them dots.
You know it. You know Teddy was dipping dots, baby. I love Teddy, obviously with the injury that happened. Troy Stoudemire, he talked about he was there when that happened and everything like that. We love Teddy, and yes, I believe he should sign a one-day contract, retire as a Minnesota Viking.
Absolutely.
We love Teddy. Congratulations on, what will be your retirement. It'll be good to see him on the sidelines Sunday. A lot of love for Teddy, but hopefully it's a Vikings win. So, fingers crossed. Great job with Shield Shoutouts, as always, Voldy.
Thank you, sir.
With that being said, pick 'em. Guys, we are winding down. So make sure to get those picks in. Jack Vickers is leading the way, so congrats to Jack. He might be a two-time pick 'em champion. But Rick is still in the mix, so make sure you get those picks in because you can win what, Voldy?
Gonna win this hat here this week.
Yes.
1 of 1 right here. Yep,
That is.
we're
It's
gonna
a
win.
1 of 1.
It's gonna be on the line here this week. Got this week. Next week we'll do one more giveaway, and then the week after it's gonna be for all the marbles and who's gonna be the MinneZona pick champion for the 2023 season. So get your picks in this week to win this hat.
Yes. And the next week, I believe, will be the bundle. So be on the lookout for that. And you guys know the deal. We got our merch. Hey, guys, we still have sweatpants available. So make sure you talk to me, talk to Voldy about that. We can get those out to you. $30, $5 shipping. And then Voldy, the new hats, look at those babies. Oh, they're $20, $5 shipping for those bad boys. Hopefully, I have a lot of people that have marked it down. Just got to send it off to them. But with that being said, we do have the stickers still available. We have $2 small ones, $3 for the big ones, as Voldy is putting up right there. And you guys know the deal. Shirts are still available. We still have some 5 out of 5 shirts. The limited edition is no longer available. That one has been sent off. So you got that going for us. And then we have our new merch. So if you want that new merch, we got the quarter zip. We've got the knit hat. We got the tumbler. Guys, they look fantastic. Look at that. Look. Oh, man. I can't wait to get my hands on one of those.
And they have pockets, too.
And they have pockets. Guys, there's nothing
Big
better
time.
than these quarter zips right now. I'm telling you. Those are going to be fantastic. So make sure you talk to myself or Voldy. We can get you set up with those because they'll go quick. I can tell you that. And especially with the knit hats, you know the deal with those. Keep your head warm. The tumblers as well. So make sure we'll give you prices and things like that for that. All right. Shout out to W2 Performance. Our guy, Will Rotel. He's doing fantastic things over at www.w2performance.com. Shout out to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. And make sure you check out the Victorious P.O.D. with Tyler Hermann and Jack Vickers. Fantasy football is winding down, so make sure that you guys get your fantasy football fill with those guys. Make sure you check out TLS Performance, Troy Stoudemire Jr. Make sure check out his stuff. And then check out Popcorn Bucket List. Nick Dahlhoff, Ryan Myhrberg, Omni Entertainment. They've got a new episode coming out, new movies coming out as well. So get all your info on movies and stuff like that through those guys. So that being said, that's going to do it for episode 175. And Voldy, we're off next week because, well, it's Christmas. We want the zoners to enjoy their Christmas. And stay safe out there and have a great Christmas. Enjoy time with family and friends and things like that. We'll have more stuff coming your way. And remember, the Zoning Awards, they're coming up. Make sure you're ready for it because best guest, best segments, things like that, absurd statement, clown of the year. We got to start thinking of that too. So we'll talk. Get that set up. So with that being said, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla!
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.